Good evening, good evening, good evening. Happy Winning Wednesday, ladies. We are in for a treat on tonight. I am so absolutely grateful. I just want to tell you, my name is Sonya Wilson Bailey. I am the founder and CEO of Whole Women in Progress, where I assist women to journey into a greater place of wholeness by renewing their minds, rebuilding their bodies, and restoring their soul. And all of you know that we've been talking about mental health this entire month. This month of May is mental health awareness. We have an amazing woman of God with us tonight, Dr. Zakevia, and I'm excited to tell you that she's an entrepreneur, she's a philanthropist, she's an extraordinary motivational speaker, she's a teacher, counselor, author, and the list goes on and on. She is so absolutely amazing. I had an opportunity to spend I want to say 6 or 8 weeks with her in a class that we had with Coach Keisha. And this young lady is absolutely amazing. She has dedicated her life to helping us, educate us, empower us, enlighten us, and help be a game changer for the world at large, because it's so many things that we as individuals can do to enhance ourselves. She have over 14 years of experience of an educator, counselor, and she's a clinical therapist. Zakevia has a passion for empowering individuals, families, children, to and a community to living a life spiritually, mentally, and physically healthy and well. So on tonight, we are in for a treat. I know she's going to be a blessing. I'm excited to be able to interview her. I'm shaking a little bit because I'm just so excited for us to have this time together. And I just want you to know, sit back, uh, put your questions in the chat. I'm going to put the chat where I'll be able to see it so we can ask her these questions. She's employed now with MUSC of Charleston. She owns her own practice, so she is a licensed therapist. So she is in the low country and she's available and able to help those that may need her services. At this time, I'm going to bring her front and center, and we're going to begin this candid conversation on tonight. Well, good evening, beautiful. How are you?
Good evening. Good evening. Thank you for having me this evening.
You are absolutely welcome. And thank you for your yes. I'm glad to have you here. And I'm glad to just be able to have some dialogue with you in reference to mental health and mental health awareness. I know you work around it every day. I know you see a lot of things that's going on in people's lives. So, on tonight, if you had to tell the group, tell us a little bit about yourself, other than what I might have already shared, and just some things that you feel like when you think about mental health and wellness, what is the first thing that comes to your mind?
Well, I can tell you a little bit about me. I'm Dr. Zakevia Lewis-Kendricks. My family is from the Bahamas. I've been here in Charleston 23 years. I grew up in Miami, moved to New York, now here. Love it. This is my home. I'm a mother. I am a fiance now. I I am a I'm a person that always want to encourage, inspire, and motivate you to be the best version of yourself. I have been employed for the last 70 years at the Medical University of South Carolina in the Department of Infectious Disease, working with those individuals who are HIV positive. And so my goal is to help them understand the disease, and break it down that it's just dis-ease. Do not live by what it is called to others, disease. And I try to show them a way that you are going to live, but this is how you're going to live. And I take that motto with me everywhere I go, because sometimes we get stuck.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I think about mental health, it's a mind full of grief
Mm-hmm.
and trauma that pushes forth the pain that we don't know how to process.
Mm-hmm.
And so that takes us on a journey that may be difficult because we don't know how to process the pain or the trauma that we went through,
Uh-huh.
and the added stress on top of that.
Uh-huh.
That all equals mental health. But then some people have, they're born, they have the gene. And
Uh-huh.
so that is when you have your, and substance abuse also can play a major part in it. But the gene, and what people don't know, it comes from your father. So I'm like, you get it from your daddy and not your mama. So,
Okay.
um,
Okay. Okay.
and then D, when you have schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, along those lines, those things there, that we, as many African Americans, is taboo. It's almost like the pink elephant in the room. Others don't want to talk about it, and they don't know where to start to get help.
Mm-hmm.
We've been taught how to pray it off. Let's get some oil.
Mm.
We believe that God can heal, and He is a healer,
Yes, he is.
but it takes a little bit more.
Correct. And we have to, at some point in time, say, hey, this is where I'm at. This is what's going on. I find that I repetitively do this when such and such happen. I shut down. I don't want to talk, and
Hmm.
when those things are happening, it may be a greater root to the issue, a greater, just
Hmm.
like you said, the unresolved trauma,
Hmm.
dealing with a bad relationship that might have happened to you 5 years ago, a marriage that didn't go right, you got divorced. It's
Hmm.
multiple things, but we have to be willing, just like you said, to have the conversation. So when is it that we see, what are some of those signs that you would see where that, hey, I need to do something else. I'm trusting God to heal me, but I need to get some help.
When you find yourself stuck, when you can't get out of bed, when you
Mm-hmm.
no longer like to do the things that you used to do, like with your friends or your family,
Mm-hmm.
when you find yourself crying constantly, that profound sadness that you feel inside,
Uh-huh.
that's when you know it's time to seek help, because you don't know where that is coming from. In that place of, it's you feel like you're losing yourself.
Uh-huh.
Hmm.
Or burying yourself in, being excessively working all the overtime you can find,
Well, that's
just
a lot of people use that as a coping mechanism,
correct.
and overwork. And I'm guilty. I did it, but I did it as a coping mechanism, for grief, when I lost my mother, and then I lost my son,
Uh-huh.
and then I lost my marriage.
Uh-huh.
And so the way that I was able to deal with that, not only having my relationship with God, that was first and foremost, being
Uh-huh.
able to have that and understand the word, truly understand the word, not just knowing the word of God, but having a relationship with God. That
Yeah.
was one of the things that kept me mentally stable.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
I had to work myself to be physically tired. So when I come home, I can just drop. And so,
Sleep.
yes, I worked and worked nonstop. I worked.
Mhm.
I found things to do. I would not say no,
Uh-huh.
because that was my way of not thinking about my loss, not grieving.
Uh-huh.
I didn't want to sit in that pain. I didn't want to feel it. And so and now it's an addiction. I still
Mhm.
work. I've been working like that for years now.
Uh-huh.
I still like, but the difference is now I do everything that I love to do, and I have purpose behind it.
Uh-huh. So
Mhm.
you was able to realize where you were, and you was
Mhm.
able to work yourself out of it. And
Mhm.
that's amazing, because some people never get there. I remember, just like you said, the loss of my sister, I mean, of my daughter, and then the loss of my mother. And it's like multiple things, even like miscarriages. Some women have multiple miscarriages, and just like you
Mhm.
said, you never really grieve that stuff properly. It's like a blanket that you just dragging around. So you have
Mhm.
to be be willing to do the internal work. And just like you said, you can know the scriptures, but when you actually have to implement them in your life and walk them out, now that I'm dealing with this grief, now that I'm dealing with this pain, because those three things that you described was grief, but it was three different kinds of grief. One thing is your mom, then it's your son, and then then it's your marriage.
Mm-hmm.
So somebody, if you come in contact with somebody and they come into your office and
Mm-hmm.
they've dealt with those multiple levels of trauma, what
Mm-hmm.
is your first what do you do first for those individuals when they may have gotten multiple situations? It's like building blocks where they just got several things that's piled on top of them. They're not sleeping, they're drinking to get up, they're drinking to go to bed, sleeping around, whatever they may be doing to numb the pain. What is
Mm-hmm.
the first thing that they do with you when they walk into your office?
Well, I do an assessment first, a grief assessment to see exactly how far they are in their grief.
Mm-hmm.
And once we do that assessment, we talk about the differences with
Mm-hmm.
there and the various stages that you may be in. And so grief is a natural response to loss. So it's the emotional suffering you feel when something or someone is taken away. Often that pain can feel overwhelming. You may experience all kind of difficult or unexpected emotions. And being shocked, anger to disbelief, guilt, or that profound sadness. What I
Mm-hmm.
explain to them is grief is ongoing and it's ever evolving. It's an experience that can be physical and have
Mm-hmm.
a behavioral response.
Correct.
So it's related to the object of the loss, the secondary loss, the stressors that's associated with it, yourself, because you lose yourself in the interim.
Correct.
It's not just emotional. And so it's both that grief can be significant and
Uh,
quantifiable. It could be physical, mental. When you cause grief can disrupt your sleep. You can get chest pains, gastrointestinal issues. Grief can increase the risk of heart attack, believe it or not, and
uh-huh.
suicide. It's very common to feel tired or exhausted when you're grieving. There are
Mm-hmm.
many ways that you can and try and deal with it, but that strong emotional along with that practical thing may be needed to help. And so I try to explain to them that
Uh,
grief is not just a straight line. you
correct.
know it takes years to come back. Some people deal with it better than others, but it's a
Mm-hmm.
stage, it's a cycle. And
Yes.
so that shock and denial, and that's when you do avoidance, that confusion, that fear, that numbness, and you start blaming others. And then you go through the cycle of anger. When you're so frustrated, then that anxiety creep in, you become
Mhm.
irritable, and then it's a sense of embarrassment based on the type of loss.
Correct.
And then you're shamed. Some
Yeah.
people are shamed. And then that's that depression and that detachment where you
Mhm.
feel overwhelmed, that lack of energy, that helplessness. And then it's like the bargaining, Lord, why, woe is me, why? But you're reaching out to others and your desire
Mhm.
to tell your story, the
Mhm.
struggle to find meaning of what has happened in your life. And that is the loss of yourself, the loss of a loved one, loss of your relationship, loss of place, displacement at a job.
Yeah.
Then there's,
That income too. A lot of times women stay because they
yep,
don't want to lose the income if that person
mhm,
is the sole provider.
yep, yep. And then
Yeah.
that acceptance. When do we get to that point of acceptance? And that's just accepting a new place that you're in life.
Mhm.
Exploring those new options that you now have. That empowerment. You need that to help them build that self-esteem and
Mhm.
understand it, help them find meaning back in
Yeah.
their lives, because things can't go back to the way it was. So let's
Correct.
find out how we can live with our new norm.
Yes. A whole new identity.
Yep.
That whole new identity. Well, I this is another question that I wanted to ask. Have you ever encountered in your life where you felt like you just wanted to throw your hands up? I know that
Yeah.
I need. I know that I need help. I know that I need to. I know that I don't need to spend any more money on another piece of clothes or another pair of shoes, but I
Stay
need
out
to
of my
invest.
business.
I need to invest this money in talking to a licensed professional. I know that this is above the pay grade of my pastor, and I need to get some help. I want to walk in a greater place of wholeness. I want to go into rooms and feel confident in who I am and not, feel like I gotta, you know, dance to everybody else's music because I'm all over the place because I don't really know who I am. I don't really know my identity. And now I feel like if I connect over here or over there, then I'll feel like I'm loved.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
I have. I'm human. Sometimes I used to say the therapist need therapy herself. Um, because
All of
life
us
be
do.
because life be lifing.
Yes, it do. Life be life and for real, for real.
But I was always reminded of Romans 5, which give us a formula for hope. It
Uh-huh.
says tribulation and procedures. It says tribulation produces perseverance.
Correct.
Perseverance produces character, and
Mm-hmm.
character produces hope. And so
Yes.
sometimes we get stuck persevering, and we have a culture that stays stuck at persevering. And
Uh-huh.
so persevering supposed to be a phase. Sometimes life leave us stuck in that place. And
Mm-hmm.
so while we're in that place, because our only focus come from trying to make it because we are doing it for not ourselves, but for everyone else. And so
Mm-hmm.
I had to get out of that place. Going back to my marriage, I was staying there because I didn't want anyone to feel like I failed.
That's a
16
sign of
years.
grief. Yeah,
hmm
that's a sign of grief as well. Yes.
Yeah, because grief is confusing. Grief is
Yeah.
overwhelming. It can be devastating, painful.
Uh-huh.
The experiences that we go through as human, we need that support. And so
Mm-hmm.
I'm grateful that not only with my education, my training, my relationship with God, but I also have good friends
Yeah.
that support
Ah.
me, that love me, that
Mm-hmm.
encourage me,
Correct.
that will be here. They pray with me, they pray for me. They
Mm-hmm.
understand the value of what I bring as a friend. And
Mm-hmm.
so, and they are not, they don't hold back. They tell me the truth.
Mm-hmm.
And
And
so, not only losing my son, well, losing
mm-hmm.
my mother first, losing my son, losing my marriage, I got to a point where I was lost. I was with my husband from the age of 19
Mm-hmm.
to 36. I always laugh and joke and say that was my good years.
Those good years.
I always laugh
Absolutely
and joke and say,
correct.
you guys my good years.
Yes.
But my latter is better than the things that I had before. But in the
Mm-hmm.
interim with that, I was so broken and lost and didn't know where to pick up the pieces of my life
Mm-hmm.
that I didn't know what to do. All I can do is fall on my knees and say, Lord, I trust you. I didn't
Mm-hmm.
know the words to pray. I didn't know what to say. All I can do is cry and fall on my knees and say, Lord, I trust you.
Mm-hmm.
And because of the sincerity of my heart, I think he continued to give me the desires of my heart.
Yes. That's our Father. He knows exactly how to give us exactly what we need.
hmm
And sometimes the trauma and the pain, just like you said, is so severe. I know for me personally, it's times that I felt like I was being muzzled or like
hmm
somebody was choking me that I couldn't, the word I wanted to speak, but it was like I didn't know what to say. So I just like you said, just cried out and Lord have mercy on me. God, I
hmm
need you is, and it's nothing. A parent never want to funeralize their children. That's like a whole nother level
hmm
of pain. And you have to, just like you said, with the mental health piece of it, you really have to have good, solid people around you to help you through that time. You got to have it. is vitally important is that, your circle and who you
Mm-hmm.
feel like you can confide in and cry on, because it's certain times in life it's you can communicate that to them, but will they really understand what you're feeling?
Mm-hmm.
So I just want to tell you thank you for sharing that. What would you what would you say to a woman that may be battling with her mental health and begin to get blues of losing loved ones, losing a child, getting you work this job for 30 years and get fired. You know what I mean? And it
Mm-hmm.
seems like everything is just crumbling down on you. What would you say to that woman tonight if you had an opportunity to encourage her or speak life to her? What would you say?
Grief is pain. It's
Mm-hmm.
inevitable, but suffering is optional.
Ooh, it's optional. So there are choices. Do I
Mm-hmm.
have to stay there or do I want to get up and live? Wow.
Yeah, it's
Ooh.
inevitable because we're going to go through life and we're going to experience some things. There are
Mhm,
really two stages of grief: who you
mhm,
were before and who you are after.
mhm.
And so when you
Wow.
understand that those concepts, it's
Mhm,
inevitable the pain that we will feel. Life, it happens,
mhm,
but suffering is optional. And
mhm,
so put in the work of doing things that is going to help you.
mhm,
Go see a therapist. Get out of that phase because it's different forms of grief. And so
mhm.
you have what is called that complicated grief.
Uh-huh.
And it's that severity where you just don't understand why. That area where you keep questioning, but it's ubiquitous. It's as death or loss is part of the human. According to the emotional pain, it's felt that that bereavement is
Mhm.
perceived as, it's understandable. Should it be
Uh-huh.
medicalized? Some people need medication, um,
Uh-huh.
but grief is managed differently across cultures, you
Correct.
know, and it's not possible for a single diagnosis, a diagnostic system to dictate the uniform standard of grieving. Um, Grief is unlike most other psychological responses. It's that it's closely interwoven to a religion practice.
Uh-huh.
And so it's inappropriate for any psychiatry or psychiatrist to infringe upon what that person beliefs are. So
Mhm.
talking about how you feel, but sometimes people can't put it into words. So
Correct.
you will ask them, you know, when you lay at bed tonight, I give an assignment to my the people that I work with, my clients. One of the things is, until you see me again, give me 2 weeks. Every day you wake up, give me one word that describes your feeling.
Mhm.
How you
And
feel.
that's good because that constantly keep their mind working towards them coming out of that situation and walking into that wholeness by you giving them the assignment. So it's consciously keeping them uh in tune with whatever it is that they may need to do to continue to come out of that cycle of that season that they may be in and dealing with. Ooh,
I'm gonna turn on the light. I see that it's getting darker, and I feel my room is getting darker around me. Let
okay.
me cut on the light.
Okay, go ahead.
I just moved into my new house, so I don't have all my extra fancy equipment that I would
Okay,
normally have.
okay. I'll take you backstage for a second. All righty, ladies. This is really some good conversation, very good dialogue. If you have any questions, please put them in the chat so we can definitely get her to answer any questions or any concerns that you may be personally dealing with. And if you don't want to put your name, you don't have to. And I will just ask her the questions. I do see one in the chat now, and I will share that one with her, and I'm going to bring her back on. All righty. I
I'm
love them
sorry,
doors,
y'all.
them doors in your new house.
I had to get some light going on. I'm trying to get everything together. You can probably
Okay.
hear the echo and everything. I'm trying.
Okay, no, it's beautiful, darling. Thank you. Okay, I got one of the Facebook users said, when my brother died in 2018, I was a whole different person, and I still try to get to that other norm. She's still trying to get to that other norm, but she lost her brother in 2018. So
Hmm.
she's still struggling with grief. And you know what? I would say personally, just from my own journey, and then I'm gonna give Dr. Zakevia an opportunity to respond as well. I know for me, my mother has been gone, I want to say 22 years, and this has been the best Mother's Day that I have had in a decade. I would be in my bed, have my head covered up. I would, sometimes my husband said I would start like weeks before Mother's Day. Weeks before Mother's Day, it would actually, he said, my behavior would begin to change because of, he knowing Mother's Day was coming. So it was just really, really challenging. It was very difficult, and just like this year, because I have been in therapy for, I want to say, over a year now, maybe a year and a half. I was able to handle it a whole lot better this year. I was able to get out. I was able to, celebrate other women like I would always do, but it was still missing my mom, even in the midst of it. People saying, out with their mom, taking pictures. So I just think, it's a process. And even though it was 2018, you got to give yourself some grace and just continue to ask God to help you to go through it, and just know that it's various stages. Some days you're gonna be happy, some days you're gonna cry, some days you're gonna, be the snapping turtle and don't want to talk to nobody or do anything. So just give yourself some grace and know that it will get better. I can't tell you when, but I can tell you that you will. It will.
And you're absolutely correct. And there's different stages. It's our expectations versus the reality. And so again, Kubler-Ross, that is the person that developed the various stages of grief. That is the theorist, and she
Hmm.
talked about the experience that you
Hmm.
have, which is denial, anger, depression, bargaining, and acceptance. And
Hmm.
so when we go through those various stages, it definitely help us,
Hmm.
but it doesn't say how long we'll be in those stages.
Correct.
Hmm.
Yep. There's no time. There's no time limit. I've
Right.
never
There is
seen.
no time
I've seen
frame.
them, but I've never seen a time limit.
Right. There is no
Hmm.
time frame on that. And
Hmm.
so when we, and sometimes it looks, again, people think it goes like this. It doesn't go like that. It goes like wiggly, wiggly all over the place. Your
All over the
emotions
place.
are all over the place. It is
Yes.
not, and it's not fair.
Uh huh.
It's not fair. And it's frustrating. But it is a time that we get to that place, and
Hmm.
it happens. You don't, like you said before, give yourself grace. It is so, so very important that you give yourself grace, just like you give grace to others
Hmm.
when they go
Correct.
through different things. Hmm.
Absolutely. That's the only question that I see in the chat. I don't see any more questions. They was just they're giving feedback. Suffering is optional. Grief
Hmm.
is pain, but suffering is optional. Love that, Dr. Z. Um, it's been amazing, amazing, amazing. I just want to say that it's okay if you need to get a therapist. I highly recommend it.
That's
You know,
right.
you can be well and still have a therapist. You don't have to have a problem per se. Just say you get together, go see this person twice a month, like you do your massages or your mani and pedi. That's
That's
just
right.
that's maintenance as well. Being able to just unpack whatever it is that you may be going through. You may be going through a change of life. You may be you empty nesters. Your kids are getting grown, and now you're used to being mommy and going to the soccer field and the basketball games and all of that, and then they grow up and they leave. That's
That's right.
another That's another stage of my mental health, my mental wellness. How am I going to process now that I'm an empty nester? We're traveling, the kids are in college, whatever it is. So it's important that we be not only physically well, but we have to be mentally well. We have to be, spiritually well. All of those things are encompassing the whole woman, and we can't give one thing more attention than the other. Yes, we want to have the beach body and all of these things, but at the end of the day, we can have the beach body, but then still be broken in a million pieces on the inside.
Oh, come on now. That is true.
In and out of relationships. I got a boyfriend. We date for 6 months, and then next thing you know, I got somebody else. You know, 2 months later, and this cycle just repeats itself. But we have to remember that we're the common denominator. So, what is it in me that I'm gravitating towards these men, and the relationships are not lasting? You know, it's got to be something. I'm not saying that the men are all right, but I'm just saying that when we're mentally sound and well and knowing who we are and our identity in Christ, it's just certain behaviors that we no longer um that we should no longer be displaying.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So when you think about when let's talk about relationships for a few minutes.
Ooh.
Relationships with women, you ready? Relationships with women, with other females, relationships with other business owners, relationships with other, your siblings, your spouse, all of those relationships play a different role in our lives. So when we think about that, if we're mentally well and sound, even if my kid come in and do something crazy, I don't have to,
Mm-hmm.
just grab them. You know what I mean? Or I don't have to,
Mm-hmm.
grab the teacher. Sometimes we
Mm-hmm.
need to, when we're mentally well and whole, our responses should be different. Our
Right.
responses shouldn't look like the world responses. Somebody curse you out, so you cursing them back out. No, that's not the mind of Christ. That's not walking in love. That's not
Mm-mm.
saying, okay, well, what, maybe she's having a bad day today. But if they doing that on a regular, then that's a whole different situation. So with relationships, how important is our mental health when it comes to relationships, Dr.
Ooh.
Z? Tell us, Dr. Z.
So I do this thing called I've been, being single. I, I had developed this thought, this
Uh,
notion. I developed something that was wonderful. Actually, it's called
uh,
Mimosa Moments: Love, Lust, and Lies. I was ready to empower women to be the best version of themselves. Stop feeling as though that they need a relationship in order to thrive and or survive.
okay. All right.
Um, yes, and so
Can you repeat that one more time for the people in the back?
I had to say, you don't have to be in a relationship to thrive and or survive. But
Uh-huh.
it starts within you, the accountability for yourself that we need, the respect
Mhm.
that you have to give yourself. You got to trust you enough in order to trust somebody else. So
Come
you
on
got to
in.
ask yourself the question, do I trust me?
Ooh.
You
Mm-mm-mm.
know? And so when you start loving you, when you truly start loving you and you truly start putting in the work,
Mhm.
to say, okay, for me, I I had to pray about it, Lord. There was days I used to say I was just a dressed up mess.
Let the church say amen.
Um,
Me and you both.
I I had to do the work to understand what I was missing inside of me,
Hmm.
so I can project what I truly desired.
Hmm.
Um, and again, it starts with trust. It starts with communication,
Hmm.
patience. You must have empathy. You
Hmm.
know, um, you will have that affection and that interest. but you got to be flexible because oftentimes it's not all about us.
Mm-hmm.
It's we. You know what I'm saying? A
Yeah,
willingness to adjust to changes so we can grow.
correct.
You know
And
that
that's the key to grow, to grow.
mhm, to grow. That appreciation for your partners, to express gratitude for each other, being
Mm-hmm.
able to reciprocate the love that you have inside, but not expecting you from them.
That's good.
You know what I'm saying?
Because I
A
like
level
this.
of
I want them to like it.
right. You can't do that because it's
Uh,
not about you. You know, a level of give and take that which is comfortable for the both of you.
mm-hmm.
But also, this is the key. This is so important. You have to keep your identity. It's that individuality. You don't have to be stuck up under that person because as women, sometimes we lose sight of ourselves because we get lost in the person.
Correct.
You know who, and I had to do the soul searching when I left my divorce, and I got divorced and trying to figure out. I'm like, who am I other than Zion's and Jeremiah's mom and Ron's wife?
Mm-hmm.
Who am I? And so I had to go back in because before the marriage, you know, as a young, fruitful, fine, sexy woman, I thought I was, you know, I always thought I was fly. I always had that confidence. And
Uh-huh.
um, and you know, I believed in myself. I had a mother who would tell me how wonderful I am, who would tell me how important it is to respect myself. I had a father who told me he loved me, you know, called me baby girl, made sure everybody respect me, called me miss, pulled the doors open, pulled my chairs out, you know, brought me gifts. I knew what it was to have a man in my life.
Mm-hmm.
But somewhere along the line, we start making excuses for them.
Correct.
And sometimes we make excuses for us. And
Mm-hmm.
when you're when you get connected and caught up because you love that person so much, you lose sight of self and the importance of loving you. And when people start seeing that you're vulnerable enough to just do anything for that person, some people take
Correct.
advantage of that.
Yes. And sometimes we give them the goods because we'll say,
Hmm.
"Oh well, I was in my last relationship and he did this, 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 this." So now he know for the next 6 to 8 months what not to do to get you hooked, and then you know you be like, "Okay, well he didn't do that for a certain amount of time," but basically we gave him the whole manual when we met him because we exposed what we experienced before, and
Hmm.
just like you say, some of them can smell that a mile away
Hmm.
take that to their advantage. Oh well, she'll give me some money. I could ask her to borrow $300 or whatever. But we have to, just like you say, those parents, your parents are so vital in it. And even
Hmm.
if you don't have a relationship with your father, or if your relationship with your mom is rocky, he said he'll be a father to the fatherless and a mother to the motherless. So
Exactly.
just having that relationship with him will bring you, right on the home plate. But at
Hmm.
the end of the day, am I going to allow my self identity to be in him, or I'm going to allow it to be in God? Because if I'm allowing it to be in God, God is going to help me stay grounded and rooted, where I don't allow just like you said, to lose myself because I really want to be with this person so much. But they've shown me on numerous occasions that I can't trust them, that they're not honest, that they're not integral. So, and that goes from male and female. So why do I still desire their company? It's
That's
something
right.
in me that's missing.
Hmm. That's right. You know, I tell people all the time, find someone that match your swag. You know what you have. You
Huh.
know, someone who is willing to be there as your support system, your cheerleader. I'm gonna tell you, when each relationship that I left that was a mess, that
Uh-huh.
I felt like I wasn't growing and I was stuck. The minute I let that go, my life plateaued to the next level, as
Mm-hmm.
if God was holding me back because I was holding myself back and not
Mm-hmm.
listening. You know, when get away from someone who minimizes your accomplishments.
Say
Get
that
away,
again.
get away from someone that minimizes your accomplishments.
Mm-hmm.
Get away from a person that envy your life because you are growing and they
Yeah.
are not.
Ooh,
Get
hold on a
away
minute.
from that.
Let me get some more water. Go ahead. I'm just playing. Lord have mercy. Go ahead
get
on.
get away from a person who downplay your feelings.
Mm-hmm.
Get
Ooh,
away from a person that abuses and neglect you, and a person who refuses to honor your boundaries, because we have to set them.
correct.
So, and the
Mm,
last thing, a person who is threatened by your success, let them go, because they're supposed to be there to encourage you, to push you, to help you be, that person that
mhm.
that you desire to be.
Correct.
We are in a partnership. I help you, you help me, and we're going to grow and cultivate this thing together.
Yes. So that could go for males. That could go for your
Mm-hmm.
spouse, and
Mm-hmm.
that could go for females as well. If you find yourself as a female that can never celebrate other women,
Mm-hmm.
that's a red flag.
Yep, that's right.
Oh, that's a nice, pretty dress you got on. I like that red dress, but I would have. You killed the whole thing because I would have. No,
Mm-hmm.
just celebrate her and say she looks nice.
Just
But I
tell them.
yes, but we got to be willing to do that. And sometimes I think it's hard for women to do that when they struggle with who they are. And if they don't really love themselves, then I can't really effectively be kind to you.
Mm-hmm.
Whew, this has been some good conversation here tonight.
Fantasia said it
Just
first. Go ahead and free yourself. You know,
free
just
yourself.
go
Just
on
like
and free yourself. And that's for
yes.
all things. That goes for relationships with our significant others, our good girlfriends.
Uh-huh.
Because everybody is not is not for you. And everyone don't celebrate your success. So free yourself from negative people. Let go of those who are already gone.
They already go. They just say
There, let them
they
go.
already go.
Let them go. you
Yes.
know but I
Mm,
always say, be kind, be respectful.
mhm.
We are all perfectly imperfect,
Correct.
but just like you give your girlfriend grace when she mess up or something is said or whatever, give your partner, your spouse, your
Mhm.
significant other, give them grace as well. I ain't say be stupid, I just say give them grace.
Yes. Yes. Give them
you know
grace. Give yourself grace.
give what you want to receive. How about that?
Exactly.
Just give them what you want to receive. Always be loyal. um
Mhm.
I don't know if this is from my training or the trainings I've been through or my education, but talk a little less and listen a little more.
Correct.
And don't listen to trying to respond, because we be ready to jump in. That, what I'm saying? Listen, really, to listen to that person.
Yes. Yes. And hear
Yeah.
them out and give them an opportunity to express themselves without getting offensive,
Hmm.
without taking it in a negative way. They're
Right.
just expressing themselves, so you don't have to go negative with it. Ooh,
Exactly.
mm-mm-mm.
Yeah. you
So,
know um Go
go ahead.
ahead. I just want, it's important that we keep that connection, because and allowing others to make their own decision, because
Correct.
oftentimes we try and jump in and steer them the way that we want them to go,
Hmm.
and that's not healthy. you know um I feel like, though, it's important to keep your promise and tell the truth, even when the truth hurts, but say it respectfully.
Yeah, even when it hurt, because sometimes we do each other a disservice because we
Hmm.
don't be honest with each other.
Hmm.
Okay, yes, you did that. Yes, that happened. But at the end of the day, I have to love myself enough and love you enough to just be honest. And I think it's so many things that we can help each other in as sisters. and having a sisterhood to just be honest.
Mhm.
I'm not trying to hurt you. I'm not trying to belittle you, but just be honest. Sonya, when you said that the other day, you really offended me. Give me an opportunity to know what you're upset about and give me an opportunity to apologize, and let's disgracefully love each other and move on. Not you be mad and you're mad with me for months, and I'm trying to figure out, well, what did I do? I don't know. You didn't
Mhm.
communicate that. So I feel like a lot of that is mental health as well, because now
Mhm.
you feel like I'm rejecting you. So now you got a wall up. So how you coping with that is you just not talking. You just shut down. So I can't go and open the can and try to have a conversation with you if you don't want to talk. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So I
Mhm.
think that is so, so, so vital.
Yep.
So if all of these amazing women that are looking at this all over the world need some therapy, how can we get in touch with you?
Well, I am at Divine Intervention Professional Counseling and Consulting Services. If you go to Psychology Today, you'll find my profile right there with all my information on it. If you want my telephone number, I can be reached at area code 843-640-0414. Again, that's 843-640-0414. That is my business line. You can call me. We can schedule an appointment. I do Zoom, but I don't take insurance.
Okay.
I charge a sliding scale fee. My goal is to be able to help you, not break you.
Okay.
That you're already going through some things. So I try to make sure you can go to my website. Again, it's Divine Intervention Professional Counseling Services. I'm here in South Carolina because there's one like in Georgia, but I'm in South Carolina as
Okay.
well. So, I am here to help. I do a free grief group for those individuals. It's through Tisa Wack. Are you familiar with Tisa Wack, Miss Sonya?
Yes. Yes, I am.
Okay. She and I have partnered together. We do it once a month, and her organization is called We Are Their Voices. Um, and so we support each other. And so I give free individuals and families who children have lost their lives to gun violence and or who just lost a loved one and need that support. That is
Mm.
my give back. It's once a month. It's absolutely free. We do Zoom and we do in person. We're now back. When I say we back outside, y'all. So
We
we
back outside.
and so we
Yes.
do meet. And so that is to help. Now, I'm not that person, as you probably can see. I like to laugh. I like to joke. I'm going to give it to you straight and I'm going to give it to you raw. But my place is we are going to go through the phases of grief, but we're not going to stay in that place.
Correct.
Hmm.
Absolutely. And it's an amazing ministry that the both of y'all have. I referred two young ladies that lost their sons to gun violence, and
Hmm.
they were truly blessed. I'm just so grateful for Tisa even doing that, because it's so many people that are suffering in silence. They going through stuff,
Hmm.
but they don't know where to go, or they don't know how to begin that journey to walking into a greater place of wholeness. And sometimes
Hmm.
when we don't know, we just stay stuck because we don't know. It's not that we don't want to change, but we
Hmm.
just don't know. But I just want to tell you, thank you so much for this candid conversation on tonight. We have had mental health awareness all month, and we've had several women that came on. All of them had a
Hmm.
story, and it's been absolutely amazing. So I know that women's lives have been touched globally, and I know that we're moving forward into a greater place of wholeness, because we all need each other. We can't be on an island by ourselves, but God will put people around you that you can trust, and that you can confide in, and that with and professionals as well, to be able to help you through that journey. So I want to tell you thank you again. This was absolutely amazing, and I'm just excited about the praise reports that will come from people who have watched this on tonight and have made a decision right now that they want to walk into a greater place of wholeness and journey beyond whatever has happened, whatever they have encountered, because we all have a story. It's just the question is, are we going to tell it, and are we going to get the resources that we need? So thank you again, sweetheart. God bless you. I'm
Thank
excited
you.
about the engagement. I'm excited for you, and I'm just so thankful for your yes on tonight. God bless you, woman of God, and we'll
Thank
be
you.
talking soon.
All right. Thank you. And God bless you. And thank you for entrusting me to be able to pour into your audience. I
Yes,
appreciate it.
yes, 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 yes. We were fed very well tonight and this entire month. We have been fed very well. And I know a
Awesome.
lot of our lives will be different because of this, because it's a conversation that we have to talk about, and and we have to get the help if we need it. We have to get
Hmm.
it. I'm telling you, that's some of the best money that I've spent is with my therapist. And
Yep.
it's changed my life for the better. And I
Hmm.
know that God has not only helped me, and I know that He's allowing all of us to help each other.
That's right. Lean
That
into you. I always say, lean into you.
yes, yes, we because we're the common denominator. We can't get away from ourselves.
That's right. Lean
We
into you.
cannot.
Do the
Yes,
work for you. And it starts within. It starts within
yes,
you. And once you make that change within yourself, write
mhm,
down some of the things that you feel as though you want to change about, not your looks. Don't write about, oh, I want my nose small. I want to be tight, get a little bit of Botox.
uh-huh,
No, really dig deep within yourself. Lean into who you are and put your ego aside from all that other stuff. Stop
mhm,
living in your past. Don't stop bringing your past into the present, but go
mhm,
in deep inside of you and say, I've noticed a pattern. Just reflect. And that's in
mhm.
your meditation moment. Reflect on the things and then say, how can I become the person that I know I am capable of being?
Exactly.
Hmm.
Yeah, because God
That's,
has called all of us and created us to do something, and
that's
we need
right.
to be doing it because somebody is waiting on us, and we
Hmm.
need to show up, and we need to be ready to work and ready to
Hmm.
walk into that wholeness, and and just do what it is He's called us to do, because all of us are needed. Every piece of the puzzle is necessary.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes. So faith walk, believe in yourself. Believe it, you shall achieve it. As the Bible say, write the vision and make it plain.
Get
Pray about
plain.
it. That's right.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Hmm.
Yes. Yes. Make it plain and move forward.
That's right.
Yes, ma'am. All righty. Love you, sweetheart. You have a
Love
good
you
night. And thank you
too.
for joining.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night, everybody. All righty, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to say good night. Thank you for joining us for Candid Conversations tonight, as Dr. Zakevia has blessed us really good. And I know that lives will be better because of what we've experienced this month of mental health. And every person that has came and shared a word with us, shared their story, encouraged us, uplift us. So just keep going. Don't quit. Know that you got this, and know that because of the God that resides inside of you, you are more than enough. Love you, ladies. Y'all have an amazing rest of your evening, and we will see you next month for Candid Conversations with another special guest and another amazing story. Good night.